Palki Sharma. Let's see what she has to say.
India is in the middle of its biggest ever election, and guess what is trending on social media here? AstraZeneca, Covishield. Not because another wave of the Wuhan virus is upon us, but because the makers of this vaccine have told a court in London that it may cause blood clots in rare cases. This has triggered debate, fear-mongering, and accusations in India. If you've taken Covishield, should you be worried? We'll answer this question and more tonight. Meanwhile, New Delhi has hit out at a Western media report on the plot to kill Khalistani terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. What were Palestinian rival groups doing in China? Beijing has released a statement. Why did China target ships from the Philippines? Why one roti costs 25 rupees in Pakistan even though inflation has been falling? Is there a foreign hand in the protests in American universities? Who is Prajwal Revanna, the Indian member of parliament whose sex tapes have sparked outrage? Why has Uganda turned away from its old lenders to get a loan from Saudi Arabia? How has Samsung recorded more than 900% in profits this year? And can you self-engineer your genes to live longer? A new study says it's possible. We'll tell you about it. The headlines first. A sword-wielding man goes on a stabbing spree in East London. A 14-year-old boy dies in the attack. Police officers are among the injured. London police arrest the 36-year-old man and rule out terrorism. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has condemned the stabbings. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his troops will enter Rafah with or without a truce. The warning comes as Hamas says they are ready to respond to the Gaza truce offer. The latest proposal calls for a 40-day ceasefire in Gaza. Egypt, Qatar and the US are mediating the truce talks. European Union launches a probe against Facebook and Instagram, expresses concerns that Meta is failing to counter disinformation ahead of EU elections in June. Leaders are especially worried about Russian attempts to manipulate public opinion. Hong Kong's big push to become a cryptocurrency hub. It starts trading of Asia's first spot Bitcoin and Ether exchange-traded funds. This follows the launch of similar products in the US. Hong Kong aims to take on Washington in the race to dominate the crypto market. And Rishabh Pant named in India's squad for the T20 World Cup in...
You know, boy, I've been away. I've been away for a few days. 5 days, I guess. 5 days. It has been 5 days since I've been away. I haven't been with you, but, you know, I didn't forget. You didn't forget. I didn't think you would forget, but it has been 5 days since, I think, last Friday. Yeah, last Friday. Well, it's Wednesday, so it's just been 5 days. But boy, it's good to be back with you. I see not a lot has changed in the world. No, not much has changed at all. And that's a good thing. I think that's pretty good. At least we're all still alive. Yeah, we're still alive. Yeah, we're all still alive. No nuclear detonation to kill us all. How wonderful is that? I don't know about the pox among us, though. The pox among us, the fungus among us. We'll see.
June, this will mark Pant's return to international cricket after his car crash in December 2022. BCCI picks Sanju Samson over KL Rahul as the second wicketkeeper. Rohit Sharma will captain the team, Hardik Pandya to be his deputy. Medicine and politics, two things that you should never mix. One is based on science, the other is based on sentiment and power. So it's important to separate the two. Unfortunately, that's easier said than done.
That's right.
Here in India, a big showdown.
Amen to that. Medicine and politics, oh my gosh, neither the twain should ever meet, but in fact they're intertwined and intermingled and commingled and co-twined to the point where it's hardly possible to tell them apart.
Is unfolding. Over what? The Covishield vaccine. It was developed by a British pharma company called AstraZeneca. And what's the controversy? Around 51 lawsuits have been filed against this company, this vaccine in the UK. They say the vaccine is defective. It has caused serious injury and death. Now,
I wonder how many lawsuits have been filed in the United States. Yeah, I wonder how many. I wonder, are there any lawsuits in the United States? Is there even one? Do I hear one lawsuit in the United States? Maybe. I don't know. Let's see what Palki Sharma has to say.
AstraZeneca has denied these charges, but they did admit one thing. Their vaccine can cause blood clots in very rare cases and cue political showdown. Pharma giants are trending on social media. Many users are questioning the government of India. They're asking, why was this vaccine approved? Who will be held accountable? One of the hashtags is this. Hashtag arrest Narendra Modi. It's got tens of thousands of tweets and comments. Opposition parties have jumped on. They're pointing fingers at the government.
Modi.
But does this outrage make sense?
All right. Be responsible.
What does the science say? Let's take a closer look. In India, AstraZeneca was licensed by the Serum Institute. They called it Covishield. It's not clear how many Indians got this vaccine, but we can make a calculated guess. India has administered around 220 crore doses. Close to 80% of these are said to be Covishield. Now, if you do the math, that's around 176 crore doses. Now, each person got 2 shots, so more than 80 crore Indians may have got Covishield, which is 800 million people. Should these people be worried about blood clots? The short answer is no. But this social media debate, devoid of facts and driven by politics, is dangerous. So let us bust the myths one by one. First of all, did AstraZeneca hide this? The answer is they did not.
Leave it up to Palki Sharma to cut to the chase and get out. Cut right to the chase. Yeah, chase. JP Morgan Bank. Cut right to the chase, Palki Sharma.
Take a look at Covishield's packaging insert. It clearly mentions the clot risk. Apparently, it was observed in very rare cases. How rare? Less than 1 in 100,000 cases. So the risk of blood clots was not hidden. It was very much in public domain. Secondly, is this risk serious? Again, let's look at the numbers. A UK study in 2022 looked at 46 million adults. And what did they find? The risk of clots was very low, less than 3 cases per million. In fact, the virus is way more serious than the vaccine. It puts you at a...
Wait a minute, Palki. Palki, wait a minute. Are we horse trading our human lives here? Are we horse trading human lives? Well, the virus would have killed 10 out of 10 million, but this was only 3 out of 10 million, so that's 7 out of 10 million to the good, so that's okay. Are we horse trading virus? Are we horse trading here? What about efficacy? Yeah, what about the polio catastrophe that they had that paralyzed Roosevelt and others? Yeah, what about that?
Far greater risk of blood clotting, not the vaccine. So the benefits clearly outweigh the risk. But tell that to the anti-Vaxers. They're jumping onto this controversy. They're using it to discredit the COVID vaccine. But guess what? Many other vaccines have the same risks. The influenza vaccine, the H1N1 vaccine, even the rabies vaccine, all of them are linked to the...
Yeah, but last I checked, not 100 million people didn't die in the United States of those other things. 100 million dead because of COVID and other whatever problems were. Oh my God, 100 million dead. That's a lot of bigger number. That's a much bigger number, 100 million dead.
Same risk of blood clots. Should we then stop taking all of them? The answer is obvious. None of the vaccine makers claimed that their shot was perfect. They admitted it was not 100% effective.
Oh, but they didn't do adequate testing beforehand. No efficacy. No efficacy in the house. They just rolled it out right ahead, right on schedule, like they had planned from the very beginning. They never planned on testing. And what about the people in England who had the report against it saying, no, caution, you're wrong. Don't forsake what we gave and learned through polio on this. Don't do it. It's not worth it. You were warned. Don't take the chance. Don't take a chance. Take a chance. Take a chance on me. Na 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 na.
They also admitted the side effects, and so did the governments. Also, approving vaccines was never...
Admissions of guilt do nothing for after the fact to salve the consciousness of those who plunged us into the darkness of the death of it anyway. Oh my God. The admissions of the salve upon their consciousness that will never heal, it will never go away. The guilt will remain forever and a day.
A political decision, it was taken in consultation with doctors and scientists, and India followed the same process.
Oh my God. Doctor, who's got a case? I got a bad case of loving you. Doctor, give me a cure. I've got a bad case of loving you. Well, what about that doctor? They don't care about that doctor. They wouldn't do that, would they? No excuse. No excuse. The governmental authorities are ultimately responsible, not even the drug manufacturers on this one. No, maybe they're an unindicted co-conspirator, perhaps. An unindicted co-conspirator, I think.
All vaccines were approved by the CDSCO, the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, so it is important to get the facts right. Yes, AstraZeneca has a rare side effect. Yes, that side effect can be deadly, but it's not some hidden conspiracy. The risk from COVID is still bigger and far bigger.
It's simply called incompetence. No need for conspiracy when incompetence will do. Yes, the fast expedited rollout that they had planned a decade in advance, at least in the United States they did. Oh, the U.S. planned their... the telltale signs are everywhere. It had been in the works for over a decade, at least a decade.
Than the risk from vaccines. Do not let anti-Vaxers tell you otherwise. Having said that, good things...
That's right. Don't listen to anti-Vaxxers. Listen to the Vaxxers. The ones who's pushing the vaccinations. That's who you listen to. Look what they've done. Over a year ago, they set the stage, and even longer than that. Oh, yeah. We're making a list, checking it twice. Gonna find out just who's naughty and nice. Oh, COVID-19 is coming to town in about 2019. That's why it's COVID-19, because that's when it was identified 19, but it didn't start running until 2020. Yeah, 2020's hindsight back to 2019. COVID-19, that's when it came about, 19.
Been handled better. Could the conversation around shots have been different? In hindsight, perhaps yes. Pharma companies could have talked about a little more about the side effects. Governments could have raised awareness. But all of this is easy to say now. Back then, things were very different. Thousands of people were dying every day. So the priority was saving lives. Everything else...
No, they weren't. They were dying every day. Not thousands and thousands or tens of thousands of millions. They sure weren't. It's hard to fix the date and how many. There are no autopsies. There's no reports. There's no records. There's no evidence, at least. Not on paper. But I think there's other evidence. I think there is.
Came second. And do not get us wrong, this does not mean that Big Pharma is the knight in shining armor. They did what they did for money. Take Pfizer, for example. They made more than $100 billion in revenue.
Yeah, for greed. Kiss today goodbye, point me toward tomorrow. We did what we had to do. What I did for money, what I did for greed, gone. All the money's never gone. It just keeps printing on. Love is what we'll remember.
2022, $100 billion. Around 57 billion of this came from COVID drugs. That's vaccines plus the antiviral. Compare that to their total revenue before the pandemic. It was less than 47 billion.
100
So Big
billion
Pharma
dollars.
did profit from the pandemic.
100
The
billion
top companies
dollars.
made
Oh,
around
yeah, yeah,
$90
yeah,
billion
yeah.
in profits. Pfizer alone made 35 billion.
Wow.
Biotech and Moderna 20 billion
Wow.
each. And China's Sinovac made
Wow.
$15 billion.
Wow.
You can question those windfall profits. You can ask why the vaccines were overcharged.
Wow.
But I'm afraid the side effect conversation is dangerous territory.
Wow. 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 Causes profits, profiteering. Wow. Nothing new about that. Gelt is the Welt.
The headlines do not capture the finer details. What they do is fuel vaccine hesitancy. After 3 bad years and millions of deaths,
Of course they do.
we should know better.
Yes, you should know better by now. But mere little people don't. The little people don't. Educated people might know better. Little people who are superstitious and afraid of everything. They're afraid of everything now. Now it's cataclysmic. It's a cataclysm. A worldwide cataclysm of cataclysmic proportions is what it is. And there's caught in a trap. No way out, you know it's me and you know I love you, baby.
Staying with India, the Khalistan plot is back in the news, this time thanks to the Washington Post. They've published a new article. It covers the alleged assassination plot against Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. We've talked about him before on this show. Pannu is a Khalistani separatist, a man designated as a terrorist by India. But in the US, he is a guest. A critic fleeing persecution. That's how they see him. So back in November, the US began investigating this plot. American prosecutors blamed an Indian intelligence officer. They said he plotted the killing. Now, the US did not name this Indian official, but the Washington Post did. They say it was a RAW officer named Vikram Yadav. RAW stands for Research and Analysis Wing. It's India's spy agency. Now, the article itself is quite long, but 3 things stand out. Number 1, Vikram Yadav was the point man. He apparently forwarded important details to the hitman, details like Pannu's address. Number 2, US officials believe this was a sanctioned hit. Sanctioned by whom? Then RAW chief. And this runs contrary to the Indian version. New Delhi has ordered an investigation into these allegations. The final report is not out yet, but the probe does hint at a rogue RAW officer, someone who was acting without orders.
Oh my God, not that.
Finally, point number 3. Potential links to the Prime Minister's inner circle. US officials think National Security Advisor Ajit Doval was in the loop.
Oh, really?
And where did all of this information come from?
Wow.
Unnamed Indian and American officials. That's what the Washington Post says.
Unnamed.
But India has trashed this report. Listen into what the foreign ministry is saying, and I'm quoting, the report in question makes unwarranted and unsubstantiated imputations on a serious matter.
That's terrible.
There is an ongoing investigation
But
of the
good for
high-level
Modi
committee
for,
set up
like,
by the
keeping
government of
hush-hush
India.
on it. I agree with
Speculative
that.
and irresponsible comments
I agree,
on it
Modi.
are not helpful.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good call, Modi.
That's what the Foreign Ministry of India has said. Let me translate that for you. India is calling this article fake news.
Yeah.
And what about the US government? They apparently knew about the article. Washington even warned New Delhi ahead of its publication, so the White House was ready for it.
Oh,
They did not comment on the ongoing probe, but they did say that the matter was being taken
maybe
very
the White House
seriously,
is the one who
both in
started
Washington
it.
and in New Delhi.
Maybe they started in the first
This is a
place.
serious matter, and
Oh,
we're taking that very,
God.
very seriously.
If it's this chick, she knows all about it. Extra, extra. Read all about it. This chick knows all about it. She's the chick. She's the head chicklet. The head chicklet. The head chicklet right here. This is the head chicklet.
The government of India has been very clear with us that they are taking this seriously and
The
will
head
investigate.
chicklet.
And we expect
She is the
that
chick.
accountability
The chick that is the let.
from the
The
government
let, the whole
based on
thing.
that.
She knows
and so,
it all.
But we're
She If we're going at it all. La, da, 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 da. Yeah, that's her. She's got it all
We're going
right
to continue
there.
to raise our concerns. That's not going to stop. We're going to continue to raise our concerns
She's
directly
the big boss, the
with the Indian government.
enchilada, the whole enchilada, the big cheese.
A couple of things to note here. For starters, India will not appreciate this parallel investigation, certainly not by the US media. It undermines New Delhi's process and credibility. And
That's
secondly,
right.
the timing is key. US
chiclet.
officials began this investigation in November last year.
Yeah, the chiclet.
And when does this article come out? In April,
Yeah,
during elections in India.
right.
Foreign
The
Minister Jaishankar has
chiclet.
already criticized
Yeah,
Western
she's
coverage of the
doing her
Indian
job.
election. This article
For
will add to
herself.
that perception.
She doesn't
And
work for
thirdly,
Joe
the
Biden.
US reaction to all
No.
of it. They haven't
How
openly
dare
criticized
they?
the government
Engine
of India,
number
but they're
2.
not letting this
Oh
issue
my
go.
God, fire department.
In other words, Washington is keeping this case alive through media leaks, through investigative reports, and through subtle criticism.
yeah.
I
The
guess
head
it gives them
chiclet.
leverage over New Delhi.
The head chiclet.
But it's also a dangerous game.
It is.
Look at some of the lines in
Lots
this
of-
article. I'm
Look at
quoting.
that. People are going
The
to
foiled assassination was part of an escalating campaign of aggression by RAW against the Indian
was.
diaspora in
It's
Asia,
awful.
Europe, and North
It's
America.
terrible. It's terrible.
What impression does that give? That
The
RAW
right
is some kind of
impression.
monster going around hunting dissidents.
Yeah.
Based on
The
what?
chiclet is.
A lot of allegations,
Yeah, the
but zero
chiclet from the
convictions.
Caribbean, who's born and
quote
raised
another
in
line for you.
Queens. Yeah,
India
she
is
is.
part of an expanding
She's the
roster of countries
chief
employing
chick of the
tactics
chiclets.
previously associated with China,
Yeah, she
Iran,
is.
Saudi Arabia, and other repressive
Fomenting
regimes.
terrorism and
So the strategy is
mistrust
quite
everywhere
clear.
around the globe.
Club India with the likes of
Yeah,
China
she knows
and
what
Iran
she's doing.
as
Ask
some
her
sort
about
of lawless
Barack.
repressive regime
Barack.
that tarnish India's
Barack
image
Hussein
as the world's
Obama.
largest democracy.
Barack.
Don't get this wrong. You can
Barack
conduct your
Hussein
own probes.
Obama.
You can
Ask her
publish your
about him.
articles. I'm sure the Washington Post is confident about its sources. But why these
No,
sweeping
they're
statements?
guessing anyway.
Why the judgment before the trial?
Because
It betrays the true intentions here.
fill
The
up
goal
that
is not
lumpy
to pin the
mattress
blame.
with
The goal
more
is to
lumps.
smear
That's
India.
why. Just throw it on the fire like another log. Yeah. God. Amazing.
To West Asia now,
Amazing.
where the West has been trying to broker peace. Every American president worth his
It's
salt has
been a
tried to solve the
few
Palestine
days since
issue.
I've seen
They haven't
Palki
had much
Sharma.
success though.
She's
Guess
as good
who may
as
be
ever,
faring
cutting
better?
right through it all.
China. Today, Beijing released a statement. It said that representatives of Hamas and Fatah met in China. No confirmation on the dates, but Beijing says it happened
Look
recently.
at these
And what
guys.
was
They
the
look
meeting about?
mesmerized.
By the looks of it, it was about
They look
reconciliation.
mesmerized. Look
I
at him
have
right
their
there.
statement with me. And here's what it says.
Mesmerized.
The two
Looks like
sides
he's in a
fully
trance.
expressed their
He
political
looks
will
like
to
he-
achieve
look at him, he looks like he's in a
reconciliation through
trance.
dialogue and
Caught
consultation,
in a
discussed
trance,
many
no
specific
way out,
issues
just
and
you
made
and me, and you
positive
know I
progress.
love you,
Doesn't
baby.
say very
Caught in a
much.
trance.
The fact that Hamas and Fatah met in Beijing,
Caught
that
in
they
a trance.
reportedly made progress, and that the
Caught
West
in a
had no clue
trance.
about it, is
Caught
quite
in a
significant.
trance.
For those of you who've
Caught
not
in a
followed their
trance.
story, here's a quick primer.
Just you and me,
Let
and
me
you
show you the
know
map
I
of
love
Palestine.
you, baby.
The territory is divided into two
Caught
parts,
in a
West
trance, it's
Bank and Gaza.
mesmerizing.
Fatah and Hamas are two power groups. Fatah rules the West Bank and Hamas controls Gaza. This political split happened in the year 2006. That's when elections happened in Palestine. The last
Oh,
election that
God,
happened in
long before
Palestine in
that,
2006.
Palki.
So it was 18
You're a
years
little
ago.
behind,
The people
that's
of
all.
Gaza
It's
voted for
okay.
Hamas. The people
You'll
of
be
the
all
West
right.
Bank voted
You're
for
all right.
Fatah.
You're on the
Then
right
Fatah
track.
tried
You're
to
doing the
broker
right
a
thing.
power sharing
You
agreement.
gotta love it. Palki Sharma
not
is
work.
speaking to the truth. We love
Fighting
it.
broke out.
We
And
love
since
it.
2007, they've had
my
their own
God, I'm
turfs.
gonna have
Fatah
to
has been
go in a
relegated
minute.
to the West Bank,
I'll
Hamas had
just
Gaza.
chock-a-block.
And this
Palki
also
gets
led
a
to a
lot
lot of
in.
confusion
She does.
because
I
Hamas is
gotta
seen
stop.
as a
I
terrorist
gotta
organization
stop. Where
by
am I
many,
at?
especially in the West.
Oh my God, I'm
So when
only
they talk
20
Palestine, when they
minutes in
talk
and I
about
gotta stop
Palestine, they
already.
talk
Woo,
to
I'll
Fatah.
be right back.
No